Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In this series we are really working on the upgraded version of the AZ500 Azure Security Technologies or Security Engineer exam. 500X is a new GitHub series of labs from Microsoft Learning that I'm using. So in this one we're going to look at the MFA conditional access and the Azure Active Directory Identity Protection. Just like any other labs, we have three major objectives in here, or maybe four. So we're going to deploy Azure virtual machines by using the Resource Manager template. Once we do that, we're going to implement the Azure multi-factor authentication. We're going to implement Azure Active Directory conditional access policies, and finally we're going to implement the Azure Active Directory identity protection. Now, identity is very important in the cloud environment, and identity is really the new control plane in today's world. So you have to be very familiar and very confident when you are working as an Azure security engineer. You should be able to do all of that. So make sure you do this lab over and over and be very comfortable doing things like if you want to enable the MFA, if you want to add a trusted IP, if you want to enable for certain locations you want to grant access without having multi-factor authentication, stuff like that, many different scenarios. Be comfortable doing all of that. Now looks like in this one we're going to use couple of JSON files, deployment files, and those should be available under the lab section. These are the JSON file. These are the templates, Resource Manager template. Usually they will have a deploy main file, and then you also have a parameters file where you pass the parameters back to the deployment file and you deploy. Okay, so let's start with the exercise. So in this one we're gonna go into the Azure portal, okay, and we're gonna do a custom deployment. So we're just gonna search for deploy a custom template, and we're gonna start over there. And what we are going to do, we're going to load this file, and we're going to open that file, and we're going to save the template. So let's start doing all of that stuff. So before we do anything, let's go back to the labs and just let's open it another tab, and I'll show you how to go to the lab files. So here are the lab files, and just see which files you need. So you need all files labs, lab 4. Okay, so they're really nicely organized. So where am I? Lab files. Okay, come over here. I'm looking for the lab files, instructions, all files, labs. Yeah, lab 4. Inside this you see you have only 2 files, so just click on that file and you can make it raw, whichever way you want. You just save it to maybe your local desktop. I'm gonna say let's create a new account. So AZ500X is the upgraded 500, so I'm gonna save this file in here, and I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna go get the other file as well. Okay, so this one, and look at raw, and save this one real quick in here. Okay, before we do the lab, so if you look at, this is the parameter file that we're looking at, is deployment parameters JSON, and if you look at it, you gotta have the schema and the content version of this file. And then for parameters you are passing the value, so it's going to be a standard D2SV3. that's going to be the SKU for your virtual machine. You're passing the student, the username, and the password to be used with the deployment. Okay, let's take a quick look of the deployment file as well, and then we'll start. Okay, it is important that you understand how to read this and be able to at least read it and tell that what is going to happen. Okay, so again here you have the schema and the content version. Then you have parameters. Under parameters you're defining different things: VM size, VM name. Here, look here, you're providing a default name, so it's going to use this name when it's trying to deploy. You have even provided a metadata for the description. So for admin username and password, you're going to provide it through the through your what, through your parameter file. And so if you look at, so the resources is the main thing that you should be able to take a look at it and tell what's going on. It usually lists what are the resources that are gonna be deployed. So here you're gonna type is the type of resource you're gonna deploy a virtual machine. So let's see what others got a type. Here's another type. So this is the next type of resource, and everything else inside these are configurations for that particular type. So a virtual machine, it requires a virtual network. So this is then the requirement for the virtual network. Now a virtual machine also needs a network interface. So it only makes sense that you will see another resource for where you're configuring a virtual network interface. It's very highly recommended that you have a network security groups to secure your virtual machines. So it's also not surprising that you have network security group and their configurations in here. So at your own time, spend some more time to understand what's going on, but at least be familiar with what you are going to deploy. And another thing that I missed is a public IP address. So it's also going to give you an IP address where if you want to connect to that machine over RDP, you will be able to do that. Okay, so I think we have talked about enough. So let's go to our Azure environment, find this resource, and the resource is itself is deploy a custom template. So let's go. So I'm in my Azure environment right now, and over here I'm going to search for deploy a custom template. Let's see if I get something. Deploy a template, deploy a template. So nothing is coming up. Usually I have one template. It's probably that sometimes Azure will change some of the names. So deploy scripts, deploy a custom template, that's what I want. Okay, so let's click on that one. So if I click on that one, it's gonna give me this interface. So it has build your own template in the editor. So most looks like we either have to do this or we have to import the template that I already have. So let's see what. So it's telling build your own template in the editor is what we need to do for this lab. So let's click on that one. So it's gonna give me a blanket, some sample codes in here, and here I have a load file. So I'm pretty sure that we're gonna upload this particular load file. Let's use the deploy file first. So now as soon as you did, everything is loaded and it's kind of showing what are the resources that are going to be deployed, and it's really nice. You have different icons. It's for virtual machine, virtual network interface card, storage account, and the network. Actually this is a public IP address, and this is the your network security group. Okay, let's see. Over here we have got that. Then we are going to click on save, back to the custom deploy and edit parameters. So here this is the main deployment file, so we can now save this. Okay, so if once this is saved, we can go back to the edit parameters. So that's where you're going to pass on the parameters in here, and let's see if we need to upload that file in here as well. So once here edit parameters, that's what it's saying. So let's load that file as well. So it's very simple, same thing. Now this time I'm going to select the parameters file, open it, and now I have this. So let's save that one. So we have now got our template and parameters, both we have uploaded. We still have some few things over here that we need to configure. Most looks like is the resource group is the only thing that I need to configure. So let's over here, let's look at the requirement. New resource group name, we're gonna call this AZ500 Lab 04. So let's do that. So let's create it. Let's create AZ Lab that resource group. It's going to be deployed in the East US region. That's good. VM side DS2v3. Let's see, DS2v3 was the standard, so that's all good. Name, admin username, password, I think they're all coming from the parameters, so we do not have to mess with anything. All of that looks good to me. So all you need to do at this time, you just gotta click on the I agree to the terms and conditions. Yes, Microsoft, I do. So click on that and then just hit purchase. It will validate, but once it validates, it's not gonna stop. You see, it will start your deployment. It's not gonna say, hey, the validation is successful, do you want me to deploy? It doesn't do that. If it's the validation is successful, it will go ahead and start the deployment, and you can watch what's going on by clicking here. It's just gonna say the deployment is progress, and there we go. So in a couple minutes you will have the resource available to you. So let's go back to the lab and see what else going on now. So we are deploying a virtual machine. So now we're going to implement the multi-factor authentication. Okay, so I'm not sure why they have included this VM with this particular lab, but let's work on it. So what do you need to do for the multi-factor authentication? Okay, so here they're saying create a new Azure AD tenant, activate Azure AD Premium V2 trial license, create AD user and groups, assign user AD Premium V2 license to Azure AD users, configure Azure AD MFA, and then validate Azure MFA configuration. Looks like, you know, this is gonna be a pretty lengthy exercise for us. I'm wondering if I should just break this lab into a different one. I think that's probably makes sense. So let's do this. So I'm gonna stop the video here. I'm gonna start and create the next set of video, and we'll start this exercise back up in here. That will probably make the most sense, and we'll keep these videos together, okay, like manageable and short in size. So this deployment is still going on, so I'm going to still wait for a couple minutes, and you can see what's going on. The NSG is created now already. So once this is done, you can, it's just got finished, so you can click on the go to resource group from any place. Click on the go to resource group and it will open up, and you can see what we have deployed as part of this section of the lab. So let's do that. Let's stop here, and let's pick up in the next video where we're going to implement the Azure MFA, and we'll complete all of these steps. Thank you for watching, and I hope I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.